Welcome back to the coverage of YCS Madrid, where we are right in front of the finals, the conclusion of our event. 460 players made the trek to the Spanish capital, coming in strong, lots of Shaddoll plays, quite a few Burning Abyss decks, quite a few Satellinites, but now there are only 2 Shaddoll players left, so they have mastered the art.
Yep, I guess you could say your usual thing.
Yes, well, we're getting to that, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. First off, we got, on the one hand, Federico Pastore tearing through the field. Like we just said, he was the first to knock out Paolo Pacciana in the top 8, who was coming here with a 54 card deck, one of the big stories of the weekend. The Shabbos deck, not only playing Shaddolls, but also Burning Abyss. Then Joshua Schmidt, on the other hand, also had quite the matchups against Umut Serian, a player who was almost on top of the standings. I think he was second after day 1 and or second at the total conclusion of the Swiss portion of the tournament. And then he just overcame Federico Soppini in the semi-finals just now, which was also a very exciting match. So these 2 masters of the Shaddoll archetype are going up against each other. It's gonna be time for that one sentence. It all comes down to this. So let's have a look at the table with both players sitting there waiting for the judges. They are seemingly ready, and once again a handshake. Speaking of handshake and fair play, we just had a situation where the chat was indicating that there was a misplay in the semi-finals between Joshua and Federico. This situation has been investigated. This is the cause of the delay that we just had. Then the head judge even looked at the recording, trying to find out if there was any ill intent on Joshua's side, and he ruled that it was a mistake that happened in the heat of the moment. He didn't mean to do that, and this is why Joshua is still in the finals, and we're going to play this out.
Yeah, the situation with the Shaddoll construct, easy to miss. He actually wasn't able to summon the construct, I believe, was the complaint.
Yes.
Anyway, let's get on with the final, and we'll see what happens here. So we've got Joshua Schmidt starting with Sinister Shadow against Blackluster Soldier, Envoy at the beginning, 2 Artifact Sanctums, and he starts off with a Mathematician.
Half these cards just went face down on his side of the field, backing up his Mathematician.
Yeah, we're going to see Shaddoll Hedgehog, Shaddoll Squamata, 2 Mathematicians, Soul Charge, and Sinister Shadow games, starting off Federico Pastore.
So the tension is high. Something we have pointed out, both of these players have really made some of they put on some of the most convincing performances this weekend, with Joshua finding different dimension ground as a great card for this particular matchup, as a side deck card for the second and the third game, whereas Federico Pastore has a crucial mind control in the side deck that helped Federico Soppini in the semifinals and him to win against Paolo Pacciana in the top 8.
Okay, so we're seeing a Artifact Sanctum coming out from Joshua during the end phase of Federico. We're going to see a Shaddoll Dragon being flipped. No, that's, yeah, Shaddoll Dragon.
It definitely returns Federico's lonely monster to the field, to the hand.
Can we just get the text for Shaddoll Dragon there?
The Shaddoll Dragon. Flip. You can target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. Is the first part of the effect. The second part is not that relevant right here.
Oh, that was game.
Yes.
Well, the time we took to just get that up,
while we were looking up that card text just to make sure that everything was played out nicely, Federico already extended the hand basically. Oh well, access his side deck instead.
Well, I was considering. When I said earlier, it wasn't just it was going to be a lot of back and forth. That was not what I was expecting.
Well, there was a lot, but only going back, at least when you're looking at it from Federico's side of the table. So at the end, just in conclusion, in case you didn't follow that quite up just like we did, Federico Pastore was about to pass play Joshua Schmidt during the end phase, flips everything, flips the table basically, introduces an artifact Moraltach to the field, which takes out 1 other monsters that Federico Pastore had, flips his Shaddoll Dragon to return the only protection that Pastore had to his hand, and Pastore saw the writing on the wall.
Yep,
he was staring down something like 5,000 damage already, or 6.
Lackluster soldier here,
yeah.
Michael. It's just,
so
it's just like, yeah, okay, that happens.
That was the first game. Now it's time to sideboard, and we just mentioned this a second ago. I thought it would be 10 minutes until we can talk about this again. But once again, Joshua Schmidt, he's got different dimension ground in the side deck. Mystical Space Typhoons, which we have seen him introduce to the main deck a few times. He's got a Diffusion, 2 copies of that card. He tried it against Federico Sopini. Federico Sopini was able to, well, work around that card, destroy it while it was face down, and then Joshua Schmidt sided it out once again, because without the element of surprise, he didn't feel it was the right choice.
Okay, so we're going to get the hands loading in. Again, just a second. Just let the judges get those down.
Right. Federico Pastore, on the other hand, we mentioned this. He's got the Mind Control in the side deck, a one-off, of course. And another important card that he has, and we have seen quite a few times, was a Caius the Shadow Monarch.
Yeah, which is the Monarchs have been making an impact every time they're summoned because of a lack of Fiendish Chain in this format, or other ways to interrupt. Vanity's Emptiness doesn't stop a normal summon. So the Monarchs always have just been putting in excellent work. Even with all the breakthrough skills running around, it's still, they're getting through.
Also denying the opponent Shaddoll Fusion for free, like as we like to call it. Speaking of which, Joshua Schmidt on his very first turn just activates the signature card of the Shaddoll archetype, sending an artifact to the graveyard. That's once again Moraltach. And together with
Shaddoll Beast.
Shaddoll Beast.
Allowing him to draw a card, and he summons El Shaddoll Construct.
So the tension is high. The funny thing is, in the background, you can't hear this, but it's very prominent over here. There's a lot going on with the Italian fans and, of course, also the German fans rooting for their respective hero and cheering them on. And after the incident in the semifinals, you can guess that some of the people who were like split down in the middle are also rooting for Federico Pastore at this point in time.
Mistakes happen.
Yeah.
It was investigated. It wasn't deemed intentional. It wasn't picked up by any of the judges that was there. It was a huge, long chain of decisions, and it led to that. But here we are in the finals. Sinister Shadow Games being used by Federico.
He's basically trying to mirror in some way the move that Joshua Schmidt just did at the end of his opponent's turn, trying to assemble something, or at least get into that stage where you can assemble something to then come up with a blowout turn. Was that the Diffusion in the graveyard?
Yeah, he had the Diffusion set. His opponent's Squamata gets flipped face up, target destroy one monster your opponent controls, and then he sent Shaddoll Dragon to the graveyard, so he was able to take out 2 of those cards.
So once again, the Diffusion has been revealed without having an impact.
There it is. It's Mind Control.
That's the Mind Control, but Joshua's got a good answer in
Sinister Shadow Games.
Yes.
Deny his opponent gaining the most out of this flip effect.
Yeah. Usually, Mind Control is such a good card because when you're going up against Shaddolls, you know that not just half the time, 90% of the time, the face-down monster that they control is going to be a Shaddoll monster. And if you flip it, you're denying your opponent the option to get its effect. Of course, afterwards, you can still exceed summon, which is something that...
very important that he gets his flip off here. Joshua will get the effect of Shaddoll Hedgehog, which will allow him to search his deck for the Shaddoll Fusion, in this case, Shaddoll Core. He already has a Shaddoll Fusion in hand.
So let's have a look at the cards in hand, I guess.
Pretty low, but we've seen the duelists the whole weekend turn these small number of cards into massive fields very quickly. Okay, so we're seeing a Shaddoll Fusion.
And Well, Federico definitely wants to get rid of the card that he only controls until the end of the turn. However, Joshua's got a
Oh, this
perfect
is
answer with compulsory,
yeah. There's no way that the fusion
foiling
can summon.
the Shaddoll fusion, and he's gonna get the effect of his the monster that he returned to his hand one more time. This is gonna put him far, far ahead. Also, Federico had to reveal the last card in his hand to confirm that he couldn't fusion summon in that situation. So all of this is huge news for Joshua Schmidt.
Yeah, Joshua now has perfect information of the game state, and he's going to be seeing if he can assemble what he can assemble around this. He knows exactly what to play around, so he knows all possible responses his opponent could have in his turn, which changes everything. When you have that information, it just makes your life so much easier.
Yeah.
And Joshua's hand,
all of a sudden, from 0 to, well, not 0, but like 3 cards in hand, he went up to 5. That gives him a lot of options. There's a Mathematician who gets taken down by Artifact Sanctum. That allows Federico Pastore to special summon a Moral Tach that will then deal with the Mathematician.
okay, so he fuses fuses 2 monsters together to summon El Shaddoll Construct and triggers the construct. And it's important to note that Federico doesn't have a Shaddoll fusion to counterplay this Shaddoll construct. Okay, so Falco going face down.
And Schmidt sitting in a very good position here. Still gets to attack. So Federico Pastore is left with like almost no cards. I mean, he's only got that level 5 monster.
The morale attack, it doesn't
do much on its own, does it?
It can be tribute fodder for a Shaddoll Beast if he draws it.
He's
hidden his card, so I don't know if the judge caught if our tech caught the card. We'll see it in a second, regardless.
He's checking his graveyard, but once again, we talked about this Soul Charge, a card that has been very prominent throughout the weekend, not present at all, neither in the main nor the side deck of Joshua Schmidt. And Federico Pastore only runs 1 copy in the main deck and 0 copies in the side deck. So these players are not sold on Soul Charge. There is a Foolish Burial. So he's got all the options now.
Okay, so yeah, 1 Foolish Burial. How does he turn this into something? So, okay, so he sends the Hedgehog to the graveyard, which lets him search his deck for Falco. Falco, quite effective. It can actually bring the Shaddoll Hedgehog back face down and then get a fusion, which would be a free fusion as long as Joshua commits that. But he's just going to go ahead and Synchro Summon immediately.
Not wasting any time there.
Yeah, it's like, why give your opponent more turns when you can answer the El Shaddoll construct so well?
Yes. And it's mostly you're either trying to buy yourself time or you're trying to shorten the game as much as possible. In this case, it's buy yourself time, I guess.
Oh, Blackluster Soldier being sent to the graveyard. Squamata also being sent to the graveyard.
It's definitely like the Blackluster Soldier would have liked to draw that card.
It's an excellent turnaround card for this game.
Although
he gets a
Michael was already quite good to at least get back into the game.
The Shaddoll Falco.
Joshua Schmidt draws into Vanity's Emptiness. That will provide him with an opening to first assemble the field and then back it up with that card, which denies his opponent special summons at all. And so he will not be able to fight back. So like all he has to do, I'm making it sound so easy, but it's actually not, is to come up with something that Federico Pastore can only beat with a special summon.
He has drawn a Shaddoll Dragon, and he has Shaddoll Dragon and Vanity's Emptiness in hand. Shaddoll Falco, Shaddoll Core face down. He does have a face up Falco that he's just flipped. Let me just take a quick look at his at Joshua's extra deck.
So now he's going with a Synchro Summon.
Yep, it's HTS Cybemus, I believe it is.
Yes, which banishes both monsters for good. Which is definitely in the interest of Joshua, who is ahead on cards, so he doesn't mind if he's losing one as long as his opponent is also losing one.
Yeah, he also has advantage emptiness should Federico decide to flip up his Shaddoll Falco. And then that leaves him with just an attack mode bird that doesn't do a lot. Joshua, on the other hand, has a Shaddoll Core face down, Shaddoll Beast to go along with his Vanity's Emptiness. And Joshua, is he going to let this go?
It doesn't seem like he does respond.
I think he's asking for the target.
Yeah, I guess that's the reason why he doesn't respond right away. But now there is the Vanity's Emptiness. And just one more card for Federico Pastore, because his Falco on the field at this point in time is like a dead card, isn't it?
It does nothing. It's just a very, very small tuner. And Joshua is going to draw a card. Then he's got Shaddoll Beast, which he can then flip up, draw 2 new cards, discard a card.
So Federico forced to pass, can't even set his face down, his remaining card. We're going to know what it is in just a second, because the judge just took a closer look at it to enter
Shaddoll
it.
Fusion, he decides not to set it.
Ah, I see.
And Vanity's Emptiness stopping him.
Right.
Okay, so Shaddoll Beast being flipped up.
Joshua Schmidt seemingly drew into
Artifact,
Moral
attack, and Shaddoll Hedgehog.
So his beast is taking down Federico's remaining monster, who only has a Shaddoll Fusion at this point in time.
He discarded an Artifact Sanctum for the Shaddoll Beast, I believe. Yeah, I was just trying to figure out which card was discarded.
Shouldn't the Vanity's Emptiness be...
No, it's Vanity's Emptiness is only destroyed if a card on the field or from your deck is sent to the graveyard.
And there we go. One of the cards that had, I don't want to say breakout performance this weekend, but that definitely put up a strong showing.
Is that breakthrough skill that's just been...
Yeah, it looks like it. So Federico Pastore is really hanging in the ropes.
There's the handshake.
And then Joshua Schmidt goes for it, and Federico Pastore immediately offers the handshake and knows that this game is over. And Joshua Schmidt just once again showing some emotion, something we don't see every day when he's sitting on that table, and just summons a bunch of monsters, attacks for game. That's how it's done.
Yeah, he takes it down, and he's going to be the YCS champion.
Yeah, and you can see that even though, I mean, obviously he's happy and everything, he's not super happy and outspokenly happy like some other winners that we've had in the past. The reason is after his semifinals, he himself walked up to the head judge and said, I think there was a misplay. My friends now told me after they've seen it on the stream, the problem is they see it with a 5-minute delay, so they couldn't interfere right away. And he himself called it out, said, I'm very sorry, I didn't mean to, just happened in the moment. And so now you can see that reluctant happiness on Joshua Schmidt's side of the field, whereas Federico Pastore has put up a great showing for Italy. Gotta give him credit. The way that he dismantled Paolo Pacciano's deck in the top 8 match, which you can also see on stream just by going to the past broadcasts, was one of the most impressive showings we've had all weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I am really surprised that was a very, very fast steamroll.
Yeah,
that's the absolute opposite of what I expected. It was like, by the time we've got loaded the hands and gone over it, it was like, oh, the game is, that was, all right, let's try again. And then we just had another really, really lightning fast game. If you blinked too long, you may have missed it.
Yes. So, yeah, the funny thing is usually at this point, you see the winner almost getting carried away by his friends. But everybody who's watching this game on the stream is still waiting for the conclusion of the match, because the stream is like 5 minutes behind. So we're expecting like 1 or 2 more minutes of delay, and then suddenly the venue will go crazy, even though you guys can't hear it because you can only hear our microphones. And Joshua Schmidt is probably going to come out, and his friends are going to go like, "Oh, you're winning," while they're still watching.
Yeah, there's
the
so much to
stream.
get, but what's happening?
So yeah, once again, impressive showing by Joshua Schmidt in the finals of YCS Madrid. He was the one who found, it seems like, the perfect build of the Shaddolls.
Yeah, he knew exactly what ratios he wanted to play.
Yeah.
Mixing it with the artifacts really paid out for him, allowing him to have more disruption in his opponent's turn. To go along with the Sinister Shadow games, allowing him to do things like send Dragon in the end phase, or just setting up his future plays with sending Shaddoll Beast, flipping up his Falco, then sending the Beast to accelerate. All these sorts of plays that makes the Shaddoll deck so effective against the field. And excellent play all around. We've seen a lot of variations on the Shaddoll deck.
Yes.
And
Speaking of variation, one card that we keep bringing up is Super Polymerization. We have seen Shaddoll decks running from 0 at all in main deck and side deck combined up to 3 in the main deck and everything in between. Joshua Schmidt only plays it in the side deck, 2 copies there, so he is not really sold on the card, even though it made the difference in quite a few matches we have had.
yeah, well, he played one in the main deck, right?
I think none.
No, he played none in the main deck. Sorry, I'm getting confused with another deck. But there we are. We're starting
Federico
to hear
Pastore, on the other hand, did play 1 copy in the main deck and 1 more in the side deck. But like Serin, for example, a player we mentioned earlier, he was on top of the standings for a vast, the majority of the time this weekend, and he was running 3 copies in the main deck. So you can, there is no right or wrong here, I think.
yeah, I mean, where people eventually end up on the line will depend from more refining that's going to happen immediately after this event, and we'll see where we end up by the time we get to YCS London, what the correct number of super polymerizations were.
Right. So Shaddoll is the hot topic of the weekend. Once again, don't discount the other decks. We have had a pretty diverse metagame, not only at the start of the tournament, but also in the top 32. Also, we had like a lot of one-offs, like 7 different decks, putting 1 each into the top 32. So if you're going for the rogue deck, you can still go all the way.
Yeah, there was a burn deck that even made the top cut. Deck that everybody loves to hate. It was reverse burn. That was the only information I got about it, which to me tells me it's probably the Nurse Refuga. I think that's her name.
Yes, I think we have it on the written coverage for the top 32 feature match. So you can just like look that up on the written coverage. You can also find everything there, to be honest. You got the standings, you got the pairings, feature matches, deck features, something we couldn't do on the stream.
You've got photographs as well, so you can see a little bit more of the venue than just us two and that top-down view of the table.
Yeah, you can try to find a tie that looks as cool as that one over here.
Good luck.
Good luck with that, yes. Right, so after this event, the big question is what's going to happen, what kind of innovation will we see leading up to YCS London, which is going to be in just a little bit more than a month. Then later this year, we will have YCS in Milan once again, where this time the Italians are going to be like, we're going to taking it down in our home country.
we're not losing a YCS in our own country.
They were the nation with the most representatives in the top 8. 3 of them, Paolo Pacciana with the 54 card deck, both playing Shaddoll and Burning Abyss in 1 deck. Federico Pastore, who we just saw in the finals, and Federico Sopini, who we saw in our semi-finals feature match, all made it until the round of the very last 8.
It's incredible. I'm going to be very excited to see where we are in just a very short amount of time with the format. And there's also YCS Toronto going on, which is going to give even more information out there. Perhaps we see
totally
Statella Knights dominating the tournament over there. We could see a whole lot of different stuff. And that in itself completely shakes up the format for the next event, because then there's conflicting information. You've got information from the US side of the game, and you've got then all the European data, and it's like, well, which one do you take in value? I mean, it would seem by logic you'd say, I'm going to play in a European event. The European metagame is more important, but some people say, hey, the bigger event in the US.
There's a chance that somebody in the US comes up with an answer to, well, not just his metagame, but also to our metagame that we have here. So you never know. The other thing is, what's happening today? That's something we should address, I guess, because we keep talking about YCS London, an event that you should totally go to, because last year was just crazy with more than 1,000 players in one venue.
1,400, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
It was the largest event we've ever run.
In MCM Expo, so there were like cosplay going on all around the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, which was causing quite a bit of confusion, because the cosplayers kept asking the Yu-Gi-Oh players, hey, what are you guys doing? And they're like, why are you not playing cards and wearing something, well, they say weird, but I think creative would be the right way to describe it.
Yes, yes. I have a friend who's actually into the cosplay side of things.
Oh no, I like it.
The amount of effort that goes into it is incredible.
Yes.
I wouldn't have the patience. I'd start and go, oh, I've just got everything else in the world I want to do. Putting hair in a wig is the last thing I'd want to do for a weekend.
All right, so today we're still going to have the award ceremony for you, also live on the stream, where the top 4 finishers of the event will be handed quite a few cool prizes. That
we're going to give them far more prizes than they can actually carry, and it actually becomes a running joke to see if the player can actually hold everything so we can get a good photograph of them.
It is quite a challenge to come up with a winner photo. If, like, okay, please take the laptop here and then the card in front of it, and if you could also hold that trophy here. And then we got some booster packs maybe?
Oh,
or
yeah, you got a game mat. Can we just check that over your shoulder?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm terrified that one of these days it's going to backfire and they're going to drop the trophy in front of the entire audience, and that would be the worst thing that could happen. So we've got to be a little bit more careful with how we overburden
maybe we have to
people.
come up with a solution for that. Like give them something that they can like strap around their neck and then put everything on top.
There was a
guy.
guy.
Like walk around.
There was actually a guy in Frankfurt where I used to live who would walk around with this entire hot dog making machine strapped to him. And I don't understand how his back wasn't broken, but he had like the grill and he's just turning them on the front, and he's got like the tanks on the back to keep the thing running, and it's just like maybe something like this is actually a viable solution for our players. It'll look hilarious, probably not to them, but
no, probably not to them. So we can see we can see that something is happening in the feature match area. That is the preparation that is going on at the moment. There will be a table once again. Tables are playing a very important role in these tournaments. And
can't run an event without tables, otherwise we'll all be sitting on the floor.
A couple of prizes will be aligned there, and then the next logical step is to bring in the players and call out the names. And we can do some pronunciation practicing, because I know for a fact that you have some problems.
You were going to ruin this, because I was actually just going to say, hey, tell the world who you are. That was actually going to be my get-out-of-jail-free card, but now that we're practicing in front of everyone.
No. So the top 4 of today's event, we got winning the event, Joshua Schmidt from Germany.
Got that one. That one's nice, easy. Joshua Schmidt.
Okay, the runner-up, Federico Pastore from Italy.
Federico Pastore.
Federico. Yeah, they don't like the R's as much as I do.
Federico Pastore.
Right. Then in 3rd/4th place, I'm not 100% sure who's 3rd place, who's 4th place, but the 2 players are Eugen Heid, the reigning European champion.
Eugen Heid, not Eugene.
And the 4th player, or the 4th to round out the top 4, is Federico Soppini.
Federico Soppini.
Yes.
Okay, well that's actually a little bit easier, because 2 of the guys are named the same, so if I get one right...
That is true. You just have to get the last name. Oh, are you just announcing the first name?
Yeah, well, I'll be doing it. I'll be doing the whole thing if I can.
Okay.
If sometimes you hear me only using first names, it's because I don't want to embarrass the players. While I'm announcing, it's a very crown-achieving moment, and I am really trying, working on my pronunciation, and I apologise, part of the West Country of the UK, failing to actually pronounce things correctly and sounding like a farmer is something that I tend to sometimes slip into by accident.
So something we just learned is that we can't tell you, even with the perfect information that we sometimes have, like right at this point in time, that there is no 3rd and 4th place at this point in time, because these guys are still playing. So